Hi, my name is Boris, and in today's video I'm going to show you very simple techniques to get you started with making your own melodies in Ableton. I'll start with showing you some concepts for writing melodies easily, and I'm sure that after today's video you're going to be able to write melodies yourself. On 3 levels we'll go from writing very simple melodies to making the melody you hear in this track. I'm about to play you a 30-second fragment. The fragment you've just heard comes from a template called Sun Vibes Progressive House. It's available in the link in the description. Today, don't get discouraged by any terminology, it's all very basic stuff. And even though some music theory words might sound a bit unfamiliar at first, all the concepts I'm going to show you are very easy to understand. And if you're looking to learn harmony a bit more in depth, make sure to see our courses on writing melodies and chord progressions, especially the Music Theory for Melodic House and Techno course, which gives you all the knowledge you need for writing professional sounding tracks. All links you will find in the video description. Alright, so let's get started. In this tutorial, as I said, we're going to make 3 levels of melody, starting from very simple melodies, through faster 8-note arpeggios, up to level 3, which is going to use something called the Lydian scale. But let's start with the basics. We have this chord progression. Let's give it a quick listen. I'm taking this chord progression from the track you've heard, and it's right here. I'm just going to divide it by 2, so the chords are a bit faster. Let's loop it and hear it. Very simple progression. We're not going to go in depth into the chords. For that, make sure to see our other videos and the course. And let's take a look at melodies right from the start. I'm just going to make a blank MIDI clip here with the shortcut Ctrl Shift and M or Command Shift M on Mac. First of all, we are working with the C major scale. And in Live 12, if you have the C major scale selected up top, you can just click Scale, but you can also choose it right here as well. All we have now are the notes in our scale. So no matter which notes we add, it's always going to fit. But what are our other options? Well, the most popular other option would be the minor scale. So the major scale would be often described as bright, joyful, and stable. And if we select the C minor scale, that would give us the impression of sadness, melancholy, and would sound maybe a bit romantic and depressive. Now, some people are going to tell you that writing melodies is all about improvisation, and whereas this is true to some extent, it's also very helpful to bear in mind the function of notes. And in particular, if the certain note creates a sense of tension or safety. Let's access the drawing mode. I'm just going to press B, and now we can draw any notes we like. Also, what I am going to do is change our grid into quarter notes by right-clicking on it, selecting quarter notes, and you can also do this by pressing Ctrl and 1 to make it narrower, and Ctrl and 2 to make it wider. So let's stick with quarter notes. And to get the C major chord, we simply select C, E, and G. We are just skipping every other note to create this very basic triad. These would be typically called safe notes. If we use any of these 3 notes in our melody, it's going to sound very safe, not incredibly exciting. Now, if we use any of the other notes, this is going to give us a bit more instability. So we could call these tension notes. The only special note here is the B, because it's also 1 note skipped over from G. That's the 7th. And the 7th is a special note because we can also treat this now as a 7th chord. But it's a beautiful note and it's really worth writing our chords with the 7ths. So to recap, if we use any of these notes, it's going to sound safe, and any of these notes, it's going to give us a bit more tension. Now the same thing applies for any other chord. For example, let's write in the E chord. If we are playing the E chord underneath the melody, these 3 notes would be our safe notes, and these notes would be our tension notes. This applies to each and every chord of the scale. So when you are writing your melody, just consider the chords that are playing underneath it. Then you always have the choice between safe notes and tension notes. Now let's write a very simple arpeggio, just a sequence of notes simply. Let's get started with the C, add a tension note, go into G, which is also a safe note, and E, which is also a safe note. And let's hear that with our chords. Maybe now we can take these notes and duplicate them. Let's hear everything together. What's really cool is A and B patterns or call and response patterns. And this works really often. So what we can do is just take this phrase and maybe invert it to create some sort of response. Let's move around the notes and maybe I will create a melody that goes up and let's hear it. Right, and now it's already not boring. We have a nice call and response. Let's hear a few more examples. Or something else. In all of these examples, we have the A section and a nice B section, and we're doing the exact same thing here. And what's cool about repeated patterns, so doing something and repeating it a couple of times, is that when we write a certain phrase, the safe and tension notes change with every next chord. So the same note might not be a safe note, it might turn into a tension note. So the same melody over a different chord creates a different feeling. So that's why such arpeggios or ostinatos work really great over a nice chord progression. Now let's go over to level 2. In level 2, we're going to make a faster 8-note arpeggio. So let's create a MIDI clip. Let's adjust the grid to 8 notes and let's write some notes. So we are playing the C chord at the beginning. These are our safe notes, our tension notes. I'll disable these and let's get started with E, which is a safe note. And now let's go to D, which is a tension note, G, which is a safe note, and back to D. Let's repeat this a couple of times. Let's write a different pattern for the B section. Repeating the D, going back to E maybe. Maybe let's select B as a tension note and go back to E. Maybe we can take these notes, duplicate it, let's hear it. And now we are kind of longing for some resolution here. I have a feeling that if we go down with this B all the way to G, that might sound nice. Let's just hear it. So we could call this our A section. The B, and maybe a C. And let's hear a couple more examples of what we could do. So A pattern, B pattern, and just repeating. Another example. A pattern, B pattern, and we're repeating it. Now let's take a look at level 3, and we're going to introduce 2 new concepts. First of all, the Lydian mode. If we go into an empty MIDI clip and we take a look at the scales, we can select Lydian. You're of course not limited to the major and minor scale, you can select any of these, but the Lydian scale is especially popular and it's really prominent in electronic music. So what Lydian does, let's go back to major, is it raises F to be F sharp. Let's take a look at F here, and if we go into Lydian, it goes into F sharp, so it raises the 4th. This causes melodies written in this mode to sound hopeful, dreamy, heavenly, you could say yearning, ethereal, and maybe uplifting. So that's concept number one. We're going to write our melody in C Lydian. And the second concept I'd like to introduce is syncopation. Or you could also call it distribution of strong and weak beats. Because in this melody, we're going to use a slightly more complex rhythm. Let's switch over to 16th notes. We have the grid set to this by default here. And let's take a look at the strong and weak beats. Every quarter note, we basically have a strong beat. These would be our strong beats only. But we also have all these other spaces. So these would be our weak beats. So when writing melodies like this, just consider the rhythmic relationship of the notes. Okay, so let's maybe get started. We're going to start with a strong beat. Let's move over our guide. We could also make a sort of cheat sheet on tension notes. This is our C major chord. And these are the tension notes. Let's start with D, which is a tension note. Let's select F sharp because it's the note that we've added in the C Lydian mode. And let's select G. Let's repeat that a couple of times. It would sound a bit better if we moved this G one step to the left. We're again doing a weak beat here. We could also mess around with the B section here, but let's hear it now. Maybe let's go down a few notes here. And we could take this, put it onto a different MIDI track with a synthesizer. Maybe just put this one octave lower. For that I am selecting all the notes with Ctrl or Command on Mac and A, pressing Shift and the down arrow. And this way you can change octaves. If we just selected all the notes here and just extended them to be twice the length, pressing this button right here, you can extend the clip now, just duplicate the melody. So now we have exactly the same melody as we've heard in the track at the beginning. Now just a tip at the end, depending on the genre that you're making, tone of your instruments might be more important than the chords and melodies you're writing. So for example, techno music often utilizes harmony which doesn't follow traditional rules. Often these might be short melodies which are repeated over and over. And in that case, it would be more important to modify the timbre of playing synthesizers over time. But for melodic genres, it's often really crucial to include catchy harmony. That's why we've created the Music Theory for Melodic House and Techno course, so that you can have a full comprehension of how melodies and chords are created, and so that you can confidently use these techniques in your writing process. Alright, I hope you found any of these techniques useful. Make sure to check out our Music Production Academy with start to finish courses on making tracks in various genres, as well as of course the Music Theory for Melodic House and Techno course. All of the links you'll find in the video description. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and I will see you in the next videos.